I'm English, and as an English person, the Alice books are part of your culture. I mean, they really are. Your grandparents have it in their house, your parents have it in their house. Both books, Alice in Wonderland and Alice the Looking Glass. So for me, it's something that I grew up with and was incredibly familiar with. So the idea of being able to work in that universe is incredibly appealing. Um, and so it was that thing whereby you feel like you know it very well, but also you have a sense that it's your own personal interpretation, and a chance to do anything like that and sort of add to the canon to some degree is very appealing. It's the idea that it's not the story of the Looking Glass, the book, but it feels like it could be. If you haven't read the Looking Glass, because obviously mathematicians are also involved in time. Time is an equation within math itself, and so any sort of time travel is a very interesting concept for mathematicians. So I really hope that Lewis Carroll would have approved of our idea of using time travel in this movie, and also the fact that one of the main characters in the movie, Time, is a character which I introduced to this world, but it's not my idea. It's Lewis Carroll's idea. Lewis Carroll wrote in the first Alice in Wonderland book, when Alice first encounters the Hatter, he says to her, "I'm stuck in this tea party because last March Time and I quarrelled." And I thought, oh, that's a good idea for a character for this movie. There's a man called Time who is the sort of purveyor and the personification of time, and therefore if you were to choose to travel through time, you'd have to ask his permission. The first film had such fantastically defined characters in terms of their relations to each other. The Red Queen, Helena's unbelievably fantastic as that character. You know who she is. The White Queen, similarly, is as someone, and their relationship together is interesting. But obviously with a new movie, you want to explore further, either by taking that story on and moving forward in the relationship, but often examining the past of that relationship, explaining why they are where they are and where they could go. And so certainly with those characters, I thought that they'd been so nicely created. And also the Hatter, of course, is such a unique creation. I mean, you know, it's funny that Johnny and Tim came up with such a fantastic look for the guy, because I keep seeing him on Halloween wherever I go on Halloween nights. I keep seeing a lot of Hatters. You see more Hatters like that these days than you do as the animated Hatter. I used to see a lot. And nowadays you see Johnny's Hatter, which is fantastic. But yeah, I think that the look and the feel of the characters and their relationship to each other was very well established. And I loved that about it. And I wanted to try and maintain that. Alice, since we last saw her, has been away. When we last left her in the movie, she's off on her ventures to the Far East. And in this movie, she's returning from 3 years of travelling and trading in the Far East. And so she's basically a sea captain. She's basically become the captain of her own ship whilst working for Lord Ascot's company, trading with China. And so she comes back, and I think within the first couple of days returning to England, her world sort of crumbles around her a bit. I think there's always some conflict between her generation and her mother's generation, and I think that her mother is very much the opinion that she shouldn't have a job, she should be married, and she'd be having children and doing what society expects her to do. And Alice, in this world, is a very modern woman and has her own idea about what she should do and wants to do what she wants to do, which is have a successful career and be happy with it herself, and not do what people think she should do or expect her to do. And that creates conflict. And I think for her, the pull of Underland is partly to escape that world. I've always loved Mia Wasikowska's work. I mean, even before I worked on this movie, I was aware of her stuff, and obviously not only from the first Alice, but things like Jane Eyre. I think she's unbelievably fantastic in him. She has a real weight to her and a beautiful stillness about her too. I really like. She's very understated, but I like that because I feel that in this movie the world is quite big, and the characters contained within are quite big, deliberately so, both by Lewis Carroll and Tim and myself. And so you need a kind of steady centre, and she really provides that because she is our eyes of this world, and so you want her to react in the way we react, and emote in the way she emotes, but in a way which is likeable and understandable and relatable, and grounds the film in a fantastic way, because her Alice is such a fantastic creation. Helena in the first one was the Red Queen. The Red Queen is such a fantastically, iconic character from the Corellian world that to create a new person, a new persona for that character is such an achievement. And she really, in the first film, was just startling and beautiful to watch, and a really striking performance. And so I was very keen in this film too to continue that, because I've wondered where that came from, where that person was, and how she came to be. And Linda's script kind of tried to address that to a degree. And again, it's that idea of shades of grey rather than black and white, that maybe there's a reason there's the way that she's the way she is. Maybe there's just cause for the way she is. I mean, maybe she is inherently malevolent and that's just the way that she is, but there may be a certain point in her life where that wasn't necessarily what's going to happen. Sasha's excellent at playing that character. Sasha is really good at being a character who has great self-belief, who has absolute inner confidence about everything he does without realizing his own faults or foibles or frailties. And so it's a real. I love the idea of bringing him in and playing that character with both Helena and Johnny and Mia, and just letting him just try stuff out, because Time is a character who can really he has powers to do anything. So he really, it was really a question of like trying to rein Time's powers in, because if he could do anything, then because he's too powerful. But no, Sasha certainly brought instant comedy to it, because he feels like he's funny, even though I also was keen for him to be a character that you liked. That was another important part of it. That for me, that Time's vulnerability was something you need to identify with and see that this guy, whilst all powerful and a confident idiot, you also needed to feel sorry for him because he didn't see his own issues, he didn't see the problems he was having, or the traps he was clearly walking into. And so by the end, I want you to like the guy. I mean, I think you should like him immediately because the session is fun, but certainly when he's saying goodbye to Alice at the end, I felt that it was very important for that scene to work, that by that time, you didn't think of him as a total buffoon, that you thought he was a man with a heart. And Sasha is excellent at that too, the idea of conveying emotion through comedy. He's excellent at that, and that to me is very important. He was great, and he lives in England, and so he came to set, and he was there, and we talked through things, and I showed him all the character designs prior, the environment designs, and he's very active in all that stuff, which is incredibly helpful to me, because I wanted to make sure that whilst this is my vision, that he approved and understood what I was going with it, and what I was trying to do, and take the story forward. His world. I mean, the thing is, this film is set in different time periods, so I allowed certain license to change things around as I wanted. But ultimately, he created Underland as it stands today in the world, and so I wanted to make sure that was right. And so, no, it was a real pleasure. He's a pleasure to work with.